Look, I need to be straight with you right now because something massive is circulating through baseball circles and Dodgers fans absolutely need to hear this. We're talking about a name that most of us never expected to see linked back to Los Angeles. And yet here we are with insiders buzzing and social media going absolutely insane over the possibility. Corey Seager. Yeah, you heard that right. The franchise cornerstone who left for Texas, the 2020 World Series MVP who helped end our championship drought, the homegrown talent we watched develop into one of baseball's elite shortstops. With the Rangers reportedly looking to slash payroll and potentially entertaining conversations about their biggest contracts, Seager's name has somehow entered the rumor mill and people are connecting dots back to the Dodgers. Now, before we go any further, I want you to smash that like button and subscribe because we're diving deep into what's actually happening here versus what's just speculation. This channel exists to cut through the noise and give you the real story. So let's separate fact from fiction on this Seager situation. Here's what we actually know. The Texas Rangers are definitely looking to reduce payroll. That's not speculation, that's confirmed. They moved Marcus Semien to the Mets for Brandon Nimmo, which tells you everything about their financial priorities right now. When a team starts making those kinds of moves, suddenly every big contract becomes potentially available, and Seager's deal is massive. We're talking about $186 million remaining over 6 years. That's the kind of money that makes front offices sweat when they're trying to get under luxury tax thresholds. But let's pump the brakes for a second because this is where reality needs to crash the party. Just because Texas might theoretically listen on Seager doesn't mean a Dodgers reunion makes any sense whatsoever. And I'm going to explain exactly why, even though I know some of you are going to hate hearing it. First, let's talk about Seager himself. This guy has a no-trade clause. He has protection built into his contract specifically so he controls his destination if Texas ever wants to move him. Do you really think Corey Seager, who specifically chose Texas over LA in free agency, suddenly wants to come back? If he wanted to be a Dodger, he would have stayed a Dodger. He had the option. He chose differently. That tells you everything about his mindset and where he wants to be. Second, the positional fit makes zero sense for us right now. Seager plays shortstop, and he's made it abundantly clear throughout his career that he wants to stay at shortstop as long as physically possible. He doesn't want to move to third base. We saw those reports when he was still with us. Nothing has changed. Meanwhile, we have Mookie Betts who can absolutely handle shortstop, and we have Max Muncy locked in at third base for at least another year. Where exactly does Seager fit in this puzzle? Some people will say move Mookie back to second base and put Seager at short. Okay, sure, but why? Why would we disrupt what we've already established just to accommodate a player who doesn't fill an actual need? This isn't like we're desperate for infield help. We're set. Our actual needs are completely different. We need a legitimate defensive center fielder who can cover ground and protect our pitching staff. We need bullpen reinforcement, ideally a closer we can trust in October. Seager addresses neither of those priorities. The financial aspect is another massive hurdle that people aren't fully considering. Yes, the Dodgers can afford pretty much anyone. That's not the question. The question is whether taking on $186 million for a player who doesn't fill a need makes strategic sense when we have other holes to address. That money could be used more effectively in multiple other areas. Andrew Friedman doesn't make moves just because a big name becomes available. He makes calculated decisions based on actual roster construction and future flexibility. And let's be completely honest about the bigger picture here. This entire rumor started from a single article where a Rangers beat writer mentioned that if Texas really wanted to cut payroll drastically, Seager would be one way to do it. That's it. That's the entire foundation of this speculation. There were no sources saying the Dodgers have interest. There were no reports of conversations happening. It was literally just a hypothetical scenario that fans and content creators ran wild with because we're all hungry for off-season news. I've been covering this team long enough to know how these things develop. A beat writer throws out a possibility, social media grabs it. Suddenly everyone's treating it like it's an actual developing story, and before you know it, we've got people debating something that was never really on the table to begin with. That's what happened here. The aggregator sites made it worse by writing headlines like the Dodgers are connected to Seager, when in reality, there's no connection beyond fan wishful thinking. Look, I understand the appeal. Seager is an incredible player, one of the best offensive shortstops in baseball, and the nostalgia factor is undeniably strong. Watching him rake in the postseason for us, seeing him grow from prospect to superstar in Dodger blue, those are memories that don't fade. But baseball isn't about nostalgia. It's about building the best possible roster for right now and the future, and bringing back Seager doesn't accomplish that goal for us.
The only scenario where this would make even marginal sense is if Seager suddenly became willing to move to third base immediately and Muncy was okay shifting around. But even then, you're paying premium money for a third baseman when that's not a position of weakness for us. You're also betting that a guy who's been adamant about staying at shortstop suddenly changes his entire career plan. That's a lot of ifs. What the Dodgers actually need to focus on is finding that defensive center fielder I mentioned earlier, someone who can give us Gold Glove caliber defense while still contributing offensively. We need to solidify the bullpen with reliable arms who can handle high leverage situations. Those are the areas where we fell short in the postseason, and those are the areas where our front office should be concentrating resources, not on a reunion tour that doesn't address our actual deficiencies. Texas isn't going to just give Seager away either. Even if they want to cut payroll, they're going to want significant return value, especially from a division rival in the National League. The asking price would be steep, likely including some of our top prospects, and for what? To create a positional logjam and spend big money on a player we don't desperately need? That's not how championship rosters are built. So where does this leave us? The truth is there's no story here. There's no developing situation. There's just off-season speculation that got way out of hand because fans are excited and maybe a little bored waiting for actual moves to happen. Could the Rangers trade Seager at some point? Sure, anything's possible in baseball. Will it be to the Dodgers? Almost certainly not, and frankly, it shouldn't be. This is the part of the offseason where we need to stay grounded and focus on realistic targets that actually improve our roster in meaningful ways. Getting caught up in every hypothetical and rumor that floats through Twitter is a recipe for disappointment. Trust that our front office knows what they're doing because their track record speaks for itself. When they make moves, they're calculated and purposeful, not emotional or driven by nostalgia.
The bottom line is simple. Corey Seager is a fantastic player having a great career in Texas. We should appreciate what he did for us and move on. Our focus needs to be on the present roster and how to make it better for another championship run. That doesn't include bringing back former players who don't fit our current needs, no matter how much we might enjoy the idea sentimentally. All right, Dodgers Nation, that's the reality check we all needed on the Seager situation. Drop your thoughts in the comments because I know some of you probably disagree with me, and that's completely fine. Hit that subscribe button to stay updated on actual Dodgers news as this offseason develops, and I'll catch you in the next one with real rumors worth discussing.